Hi, this is Evi Sayono, and I will continue reading you a book entitled Building Bridges, Rethinking Literacy Teacher Education in a Digital Era. This book is written by Claire Kosnick, Simone White, Cliff Beck, Bethan Marshall, A. Lynn Goodwin, and Jean Murray. This book is printed by Sense Publisher, Rotterdam, the Netherlands, 2016. In this fourth video, I will start reading Section 1, Digital Technology, Literacy, and Teacher Education. Section 1 consists of 4 chapters, and I will be reading part of Chapter 1, Digital Technologies in Teacher Education, From Mythologies to Making, written by Sean Bullock. Section 1, Digital Technology, Literacy, and Teacher Education. Sean Bullock. Chapter 1, Digital Technologies in Teacher Education, From Mythologies to Making. Noted historian of technology Melvin Kranzberg, 1986, once remarked that while technology is neither good nor bad, it is also not neutral. Unfortunately, the use of educational technologies in teacher education has often been framed in an inherently positive way. Selwyn, 2011, with little attention paid to how future teachers might develop a sense of technology beyond a specific device. In this chapter, I will make the argument that these sorts of approaches to the use of technologies in teacher education are ubiquitous both historically, example given, the use of educational television, and recently, example given, the use of interactive whiteboards. The troubling history of educational reform using digital technologies will be briefly reviewed. We will then see that one of the reasons for the failure of technology to make a significant impact on teacher education is that it fails to attend to the major challenges of learning to teach. Another reason for the problematic use of technology in teacher education is the prevalence of 2 particular myths about the relationship between technology, learning, teaching, and learning to teach. 2 models will be introduced as useful heuristics for thinking about the pieces that are typically missing when teacher candidates are engaged in learning about digital technologies. I will argue that teacher educators need to engage candidates in thinking about the history and philosophy of digital technologies so that candidates may learn about technology instead of solely focusing on mastering a particular device. A concept known as maker pedagogy, which I am currently exploring in my work, is then presented as a way of encouraging teacher candidates to understand the nature of technology. I argue that making technological things may enable teacher candidates to learn about technology. Educational technology, the mythology of better teaching, faster. Nowadays, the words educational technologies bring to mind images of tablets, interactive whiteboards, and computers. Indeed, educational technology is tacitly understood by most to be synonymous with both the digital world and novel devices. It is easy to forget that the education system itself is a technology, designed in part to produce a literate population and to pass on particular social norms. The popular press frequently tells us about the latest must-have gadgets and software to enable new approaches to teaching and learning, which are ostensibly more efficient, more productive, and more engaging. A plethora of apps available through Apple and Google compete for the attention of students, parents, and teachers. Whereas computers were once framed as critical tools for the modern educator of the late 20th century, The notion of taking students to a computer lab seems outdated nowadays with the realities of carts full of iPads that can be moved from classroom to classroom. Interactive whiteboard companies seek to be as ubiquitous in classrooms as their slate predecessors. It is always worth remembering that the concept of utopia, technological or otherwise, requires us to consider its often overlooked definition of no place. The history of educational reform is grim. The history of educational reform due to technology is even less heartening. Cuban's 1986 excellent discussion of the use of technology in education provides much-needed sobering reminders about the ubiquitous cycle of technological adoption, enthusiasm, small-scale implementation, and status quo. He reminds us that Edison once predicted that motion pictures would render teachers obsolete. Razor's 2001 discussion of the widespread adoption of motion pictures by the U.S. military during the World War II for training purposes reminds us that there have been large-scale uses of training films in educational contexts, although the trend never did catch on in schools in the ways envisioned by Edison and other technological enthusiasts. Over the past few years, 21st century techno enthusiasts have proudly proclaimed that massive open online courses, commonly called MOOCs, will succeed where motion pictures failed and take a primary role in classroom instruction, particularly at the post-secondary level. This kind of rhetoric seems to have reached its most fevered pitch between 2012 and 2014, when the death of the traditional university was proclaimed on an almost weekly basis as MOOCs created by the best professors would be available to all. One hears considerably less about MOOCs nowadays, perhaps in no small part due to their dismal completion rates. See Jordan 2015 for an interesting data visualization tool. The university and the education system at large seems to have survived the latest unstoppable technological reform, at least for now. Cuban's 1986 work again demonstrates that we should not be surprised by the failure of MOOCs to encourage sweeping educational reform. In many ways, the concept underlying MOOCs have been tried before with different media, dubbed educational radio and educational television. In both cases, the idea was to tune into expertly crafted curriculum content at a particular time of day. Teachers were reduced to the ones operating the technology, literally turning the dial and assessing how well the students understood content from distant experts. It is hard to imagine a clearer metaphor for framing teachers as delivers of curriculum, expected to implement what they were told with little creativity or respect for craft knowledge. Neither educational radio nor educational television displaced the role of teacher in children's learning. The former reached its zenith in the 1940s, and the latter found a home as an on-demand supplement to a teacher's enacted curriculum rather than the basis of curriculum. Alright, I think I will end my reading on that part. In the next video, part 5, I will be continuing my reading on chapter 1. Chapter 1, the title is Digital Technologies in Teacher Education by Sean Bullock. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be seeing you again in my next videos. I'm Evie Sayono. Bye!